Hey guys, I was driving to a friend's house the other day and I just couldn't help but notice the price of gas. And I'm driving along and I look and I go, 190, that's ridiculous. How can that be? Here in Madison, we're even at 160, and you might be asking yourself, why? Why is this gas so low? Like most things in energy, it's a little bit complex, but the big primary factor is the price of a barrel of oil. As of yesterday, oil actually hit a record low that it hasn't seen since 2003. This is probably one of the biggest reasons why you're seeing such cheap gas right now. It is definitely a complex set of global factors. I'm going to talk about a few that'll hopefully give you a taste as to what impacts oil prices. The United States government signed an agreement with Iran to limit its nuclear capabilities. As a result, we lifted a bunch of sanctions that allowed Iran to finally bring all of its oil to market, and that drove prices down. Kind of classic econ. When your supply goes up, your price goes down. Probably the bigger factor that has been growing and growing and growing is fracking. You might have heard about this. Fracking is kind of the shorthand. Its full name is hydraulic fracturing. It's a technique of pumping a water mixture of chemical and sand into a well, created a bunch of tiny little cracks or fractures, hence fracking. And those tiny little fractures are held open by the grains of sand, which then in turn allow the oil and gas to escape and flow up. Oil companies have known about this for decades. However, it's only recently that it's become economically viable. So as a result of fracking, American production of oil increased to levels that hadn't been seen. So Americans have used fracking to bring up their production, and thus they're also able to increase their supply. With more supply, again, lower price. We've also seen a big expansion of what's called tar sands oil production, mostly in Alberta. It's a dirtier kind of oil that's very energy intensive to create, and that Canadian oil is also added to the greater level of supply in the market. So again, sort of this gargantuan eruption of supply has really driven down prices. Even though the supply has been increasing, production really hasn't gone down. And as a result, the price just keeps dropping. So probably one of my biggest fears is that Americans are going to see how cheap it is now to fill up their tank and turn away from fuel-efficient vehicles. You know, I really think that's overblown. I don't think it's given Americans enough credit, as well as I don't think it's giving car manufacturers enough credit. I think they learned their lesson and they have started to build more fuel-efficient cars. I don't think we have to worry about that. So I think the biggest lesson here is really about how volatile some of these energy markets can be. It's just wildly insane that something so essential to the world economy can fluctuate and change in price so much. One of the scariest things too, on top of this volatility, is that we really haven't seen that decrease in production. If we keep producing all this oil, there might be a point where we're oversupplied with it, where we have such a vast surplus that oil is so cheap that it makes a lot of sense to drive your car as much as you can or use it for manufacturing. So one of the biggest lessons is, if we want to stop seeing this ridiculous volatility in the market, I think we need to transition away from oil to more cleaner sources of energy, whether that is wind, solar, or even nuclear. We're going to talk about that in later videos too. I hope you feel like you've learned about oil and what affects gas prices in this video. Stay tuned for more videos about energy. This has been the Energy Nerd.